Yo guys, welcome back to another video. As you guys can see by the title, we're doing something that we haven't done in a very long time, and that is me bringing back a little series I did a few years ago called the 3 volume rule. This is a common thing that people used to say back when MangaTube was really popping. Uh, it was a series that a lot of people were doing at the time where whenever a series comes out, they'll give it 3 volumes to really decide if they like it or not, to keep picking it up. Um, it's just like a common rule of thumb that a lot of people used to say at the time, and I'm sure people use something similar with comics and books and whatever, right? Um, but it was used specifically on MangaTube, which is uh, where I used to make content for. A few years ago because I was heavily into reviewing manga, but I've since gotten out of manga largely, and I've been doing comic videos. But lately, since I've been reading Berserk, I have still been reading some manga here and there, and it's a series that I can definitely see myself bringing back because I am actually reading manga again. So, the series I'm going to be talking about today, though, is Tower Dungeon. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. It came out. This first volume came out in English back in July of 2025. I picked it up then, but I never really got around to reading it. I wanted to do like an initial impressions review kind of thing, where I just read the first volume, but that never ended up happening. And here I am, several months later. 3 volumes are out. In fact, volume 4 comes out next month. But the other day, which I will talk about in my January like reading wrap up video. Um, but in January here, I've just been reading like an absolute machine. So I read all 3 of these volumes in one sitting. Um, but anyway, I'm here to give my thoughts, give my review to this new series, and will I or will I not continue to pick it up? So yeah, guys, thank you all for watching. If you do go on to enjoy the video, leave a like, subscribe, maybe. I would appreciate it. But yeah, with that being said, cue the intro. All right, so let me tell you guys a little bit about Tower Dungeon here. The author, Tsutomu Nihei, uh, has worked on a bunch of really cool shit. He is known for the series Blame, uh, which came out, I believe, in the early 2000s. That's sort of his claim to fame, but he's done other stuff like Knights of Sidonia, Opossums, Abara. He even for the comic book homies out there watching this, he also did a mini series on Wolverine. I believe in like 2003, coming off the hype of his work on Blame, he did one called Wolverine Snake. I believe it's a 4 or 5 issue miniseries that is it's different, but it's really cool. Um, but yeah, no, Tsutomu Nihei, his work usually revolves around like really dark and bleak worlds that are like sci-fi horror kind of stuff. Sort of like there's a bunch of really cool bioorganic monsters. I'll throw up a picture on screen. I'll be showing you guys some pictures so you guys kind of get the vision of what I'm talking about. One of the things he's really known for too is just like his landscapes and his like environment art. People meme about like the character designs, and he does draw some wonky faces here and there. But the thing that he's absolutely got down is his monster designs. Is like, like the monsters and creatures that the characters run into, but also like it being like this weird cyberpunk-esque dystopian horror kind of setting that he usually plays around with. One of the things he does all the time is he draws giant mega structures and just like giant pillars and just really big architecture kind of stuff that's really impressive to look at. Just the scale of it all. If you've read Blame or you've read Abara or even some of the stuff in Wolverine Snake 2, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, yeah, no, it's just fantastic. He's one of my favorite authors. Granted, I haven't yet read Blame yet. I know that's the big one, the big Saitama Nihei work. I have all of it, and I plan on reading it this year. Hopefully, within the next few months, we'll see. Um, but yeah, I've read Abara, I've read the Wolverine Snake, and then I've read this Tower Dungeon. So the idea of Tower Dungeon, keeping all of that I said in mind about his usual, uh, you know, sci-fi horror kind of forte, if you will. Um, this is sort of a transition where it's like he wanted to do a fantasy story. He's so used to doing all this sci-fi stuff and cyberpunk-esque stuff. This is like a sword and sorcery kind of fantasy, which makes it really interesting. Knowing his background and the stuff he's previously worked on, I mean, this is very much like castles and dragons and sorcerers, like straight up. So going into this, I didn't know exactly what to expect. I largely stayed away from the spoilers on this since it came out. Like I've seen a couple panels here and there of just like artwork, and it looks fucking awesome. Um, but as far as like content wise, I didn't really know what to expect. And one of the things also that Nihei is known for is his work being very show don't tell, in the sense that there's not very much dialogue whatsoever, and the dialogue that there is can sometimes seem out of place or not much information is given, and you as the reader are kind of expected to draw your own conclusions and kind of put the pieces together. Very much, I've heard it be compared to Dark Souls in that way, where the story is just kind of loose, and a lot of it is up for interpretation. So I was expecting this to be much the same, where there isn't too big of an underlying story. Like there's a plot, but everything would just kind of feel disconnected, and it's more of like a visual experience than it is like an actual like reading and story experience. But I was pleasantly surprised. It's definitely, his work is different. If you're going into it expecting like a really strong story, then you're, especially at least with Blame and Abara, you would be disappointed. It's more of an atmospheric and art centric kind of book. But with this, the story is really strong, and like the character work and the dialogue and stuff is all like super cool. So yeah, no, it's like the best of both worlds, which I really enjoy. You get this cool, really cool world and all of these mega structures and stuff, but mega structures not in a cyberpunky kind of way, but in like a fantasy kind of way. You've got these giant cathedral like castle structures. Like the whole central area of this book is the Tower Dungeon, and it's literally this giant cylindrical like floating tower with like 100 floors or something. Think of like Sword Art Online or something, like where you've got this giant building and like you climb the floors. It's supposed to be like a fantasy kind of thing where you make your way up, you fight bosses every 10 floors or whatever, something like that, right? It's very video gamey in that way, but just the way that it's presented, and you can see it sort of floating over the mountains, and they have to kind of like make their way into it and do these expeditions into this sprawling tower, and they talk about it being like kilometers wide, and like it's insane just the scale of it all. It's just really cool to read and look at it, and there's a really cool, I'm not necessarily gonna say like a found family kind of thing, but I mean it's like a quest, and you've got this little band that gets put together. They're kind of unlikely allies that get put together, and they're like they're the last hope, and they get sent into this dungeon to try to rescue this princess who was kidnapped by a necromancer and sent to the very top. You've got these people called, I believe they're called Dracomorphs, where they can, I mean, as the name suggests, they can turn into dragons. Um, and there's this underlying mystery about the main character. And at least in Volume 3, I don't want to give too much spoilers away, But uh, huge cliffhanger in volume 3 that, had my mind blown, and just very excited to continue with the series. And I mean, there you go. I absolutely say that this passes the 3 volume rule. I guess I'll just get right into that. Um, yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. Like, I kind of knew what to expect from a Nihei work, but this manages to be very familiar um, with his like typical style, at the same time as like showing that he has a lot of range with the genre. Because I mean, you read any of his stuff, and his stuff does feel very samey, right? It's all the same kind of genre that he typically works with. Um, so this is just, it's fresh and same at the same time, which is really neat. And you know, his character work and his writing ability has really bumped up in this, as opposed to something like I said, Abara or Blame, which is very just atmospheric and not really like plot heavy, if that makes sense. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, no, it is really neat. There's a ton of cool characters and action sequences. If you're a big video game person, I think you would absolutely enjoy this. If you like D&D, or you know, like if you played Baldur's Gate or something like that, I think that you would really dig this. In the way that they play around with magic, the magic system, and the way that works in this world is also pretty cool. Yeah, no, I just really freaking enjoyed this book, or I guess these 3 volumes. The first volume was definitely the weakest. I gave it, I think, 4 stars. Not that the star rating matters a whole ton, but I read it and I enjoyed it the least. It it just felt kind of generic at first. Like, it was really cool atmospherically. They're introducing the world and stuff, but it just felt kind of like uh, retreading ground that I've seen with other series. But by the end of the first volume, it did get pretty interesting. Volume 2 knocked it out of the park, and then volume 3 all the way through, but then especially with the end, was absolutely a 5 star read. This was just awesome. And yeah, I have volume 4 pre-ordered um, for February something. I think it comes out the 11th or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I am absolutely going to be continuing with this series. Very pleasantly surprised, and I think you guys should all check it out. I haven't heard very many people talk about this. Granted, I'm not really in like manga conversation circles all that much anymore, so that could be why. Maybe this is the biggest thing, and I just don't know about it. But yeah, I really haven't heard that many people talk about Tower Dungeon, so this is one that I would highly recommend you guys get on. Yeah, it would be really cool to see this get like a TV like anime adaptation too. I think that would be really interesting. Um, but yeah, no, it's just, it's a ton of fun. So yeah, Tower Dungeon, absolutely amazing. So with all that being said, guys, that's gonna about wrap up my review. I thank you all for watching, and if you guys did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you want to get in on the conversation about manga and comics and all that, link to the Discord server will be in the description. We also have the podcast going on, so if you want to check that out, that'd also be super sick. You can hear more of our thoughts or mine and my buddy Cameron's thoughts uh, on manga and comics and video games, stuff like that. But yeah, guys, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.